we the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union,
establish justice,
ensure domestic tranquility,
provide for the common defense,
promote the general welfare,
and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity.
Do ordain and establish this Constitution
for the United States of America.
Liberty means to me the freedom to practice my faith, to live in a great country where we have the freedoms that live the lives we want to live. To me, that's what liberties are about and what makes this country so great.
Liberty is the right of people to act according to their will without undue interference or influence from government or anyone else, and within limits that do not interfere with the equal rights of other people. That would be ordered liberty. Reagan would have said it this way: liberty is your right to make decisions for yourself and your family that don't interfere with the rights of other people, and without interference from government bureaucrats or anyone else who might think that they know how to plan your life better than you do.
They were events that had to occur for change to happen. If they would not have happened, then change would not have occurred, and everyone would have been reluctant for it to happen. So with those events, even though they were tragic as they were, for the good of it today, and for the advancement in human rights and civil rights, they were the domino that initially started all of it. And I think that's what he was getting at, but he couldn't tell us, whether it would have been here today. He said it would have occurred, but he didn't know if it was then or if it would have been later on. He did say, though, that he felt like that we wouldn't be as far along as what we are.
So basically, the bad has to happen for good to be achieved.
And then the
Greater
bombing
measures.
at 16th Street Baptist Church with the 4 little girls, they were like, 3 of them were 14, 1 of them was 11, and the 2 boys that died, it was like completely separate incidents, but one was allegedly throwing rocks at a police car and a white policeman shot him, and then another little kid was on his front porch with his parents, and some 16-year-old white boy was riding his bike by and shot him. And it's like, without those events, like he was saying, and like we've all kind of talked about, without those events, like even though they are tragic, we probably wouldn't be where we are today.
Because Ahmaud Ward said when they started attacking children, it pushed people off the fence. People couldn't stay neutral anymore.
Yeah.
Because it's innocent children.
Right, you can't justify it.
Yeah.
I think the amazing thing is through all this, with civil rights or with human rights, it's the fact that the dream was still there.
Yeah.
That never got lost.
If we want to be able to achieve full racial acceptance, we have to be able to look at other sides. Often we are too invested in our own position, and that's why we can't move forward.
How did it feel to be a first? To be the first African American tank battalion? To be honest with you, I didn't even give it a thought, too much then, And just sit there and give me a convalescent leave to come home, so I could stay with visit my parents and come home. And that's where I made one of the horrible experiences that I had. Then there was the bus on the hospital base there. At that time, back in those days, they had a white and a color. I guess you've seen the sign or something. I don't know. You probably might not be old enough to remember that. I don't know what you're doing now, but they had that sign. So I was just sitting in the depot there, where the color section was at that time, they called it. And so I was tired. I got up and walked, just sitting there. I walked around, and I was walking around in front of the depot, and this white guy came up to me and he says, "Nigga, you're supposed to be in the back there. You're not supposed to be out here." And I had both my arms, one in the sling, and this was in a cast, and this was in the sling. And I looked and I said to myself, I said, "Lord, this what I got all this for?" So I just turned around and went on to the back there. That was one of the most heartbreaking things to me at that time.
To find out you're a fourth degree Knight.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that and what that means?
Okay. The Knights of Peter Claver, now, it's another organization that was started because of racial group. It was started by 2 priests and 3 lay persons, we call them, from members of church, because the Knights of Columbus wouldn't accept colored people or blacks, as we put now, into the organization. So they decided to say, well, because it's a religious organization, he said, well, we can start our own religious organization. And that's where the Knights of Peter Claver was started. Of course, you know the name of Knights of Peter Claver, St. Peter Claver, and he was the one that went out there and helped the slaves and all back, and he devoted his life entirely to that. And that's why the name came from St. Peter Claver, from Knights of Peter Claver on that. And that Knights of Peter Claver was started right here in Mobile.
I know, I couldn't believe that. Now it's worldwide.
In Mobile, and the meetings they had was with Mobile Parish, Most Pure Heart of Mary, and St. Peter's Apostle up there in Chastain. The first meeting they had was held right here in Chastain, Alabama.
Really? We
had one of the priests was up here back in those days, after Father Bryson, Father Crowder came in. He had one of the guys, one of the parishioners, and he went to a barbecue place down there. And when he walked in there, and he carried Roland in there with him, and when he got in there, when Roland walked in, and the guy told him, said, we can't feed him in. He has to come in. He said, well, Buster, what do you mean you can't feed him? He said, well, no, we're not supposed to serve color, in here. And so he said, well, if his mother's no good for being here, mine's no good either. Thank you, keep your food. Bam, he threw it on the counter and came on back out. So generally speaking, just say growing up, being up in this what's called, yeah, I had the feelings.
Right.
But I mean I didn't just say hatred or bitter against you for it. I didn't carry that hate with me,
Right.
I knew the area. I knew where I was living in.
Right.
So what? I would say accepted it and went on, and pray to God that one day it would be different. And thank God it's different now.
Yes. Yes.
You won't have real liberty unless you can address true income and economic equality. You cannot feel free until you can function.